Hey everyone, happy Thursday and welcome to another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So, worked on two Red Beetles today. Let's talk about the 67 first. So, not a huge deal. However, if you saw the thumbnail, you know that the running boards went on this car today. So, friends at Wolfsburg West. So, very nice running boards that you can buy complete with the trim on them and everything, so you don't have to add the trim yourself or monkey around like that. They come with the hardware. It's a really great set, and the rubber mats on them look really nice. Just a really nice piece. We put these on pretty much everything. So yeah, I actually drove out there today because I needed to get a bunch of stuff, and so I picked up those, and it hasn't been installed yet. However, I picked up the door panel kit for this one. So black, of course, and the clips and little booties and stuff. So I may install those tomorrow. We shall see. I have to put the plastic water barrier over the insides of the doors first, which isn't a big deal in itself. But yeah, pretty much got to do that, and then these can go on. So that's pretty exciting. And the seats for this have been done for quite some time, so we could actually finish up the interior here pretty soon. So huge milestone for this one. I guess we better get on that motor and get it going. I think I forgot to mention on the episode, not yesterday, but the day before, Jacob actually put together a correct carburetor for this motor, which is a 30 picked 1. And so, yeah, that is together now. So I think that was something that we're kind of waiting on for the motor. The other thing is I think I need to order some parts for its distributor. But other than those things, the motor should be pretty close to done. So go ahead and stab that in here pretty soon. Although that having been said, and I've mentioned this before, I want to put together an engine test stand because those of you that follow the channel and have been following it for a while know that I've had a few instances lately of motors going into cars and then having to come out for various reasons. Again, we don't typically build the long blocks, but then we take the long blocks and build them up from there. And couple motors on a couple cars, or even more, maybe more than I care to think about, have been in and out of their respective cars couple times, 3 times in some instance, due to faults which were not our own. And anyway, long story short, I want to put together a test stand so that I can start bench testing motors, check for oil leaks, weird noises, even, do like cam break-ins, stuff like that on the bench before they go into the car. Because using the car itself as a test stand is no fun when you actually find something that needs to be addressed and the motor's got to come out. So I'm done doing that. Time to put a test stand together. So probably before this motor actually goes in, I will try and get a test stand together and we'll bench test it. So stay tuned for that. Maybe in the next, week or two, I'll get around to that. But anyway, yeah, running boards today and acquired the interior panels, so kind of a big deal. So let's talk about this baby. Started off the morning by just restoring a few other little miscellaneous things here. The flanges for the steering, upper and lower flanges, and then I got the correct lock plates from Wolfsburg West that they use to lock the hardware on these, because obviously you don't want your steering couplers coming loose. And then while I was out at Wolfsburg West, I picked up one of their very high quality rubber coupling discs here. And then usually on those, we just put in new hardware, and CSP makes a really nice hardware set that Wolfsburg West sells. So we'll be using that. So this stuff here pretty much put the steering together. So other than that, let's see what happened here today. So today I went ahead and installed sort of the bare beam on this. So again, this is an air-cooled beam, and it is a very, very tight fit in there. It's a struggle to get this thing in. So I like to install beams fairly bare, like you see here, just because they're a lot lighter and less cumbersome and stuff. And even with the beam pretty much stripped down like this, it was pretty much a bitch to get in there. Just very, very tight up against the inner fenders, which I guess, when you go, this is a 4-inch beam, I should mention. I guess when you go that narrow, you are kind of, you should expect it to be a little bit of a tight fit. Although I don't remember my Franklin's beam being that tight of a fit. That having been said, that's what I run on my 55, the autocross car, as a Franklin 4-inch beam. Anyway, a couple more observations on this beam, and then I did talk to Pete today over at Air Cooled. He did confirm that once the beam is installed, there is no way really to remove the shock, because as I pointed out yesterday, the shock bolt is a flathead with an Allen on it, and it comes this way toward you. And so if you were to try and loosen that nylock nut, the bolt would just spin. And so he said, well, if people need to remove their shock, they can drill a hole in the body so that they can get an Allen key on there, and then they can plug the hole. I'm not super happy with that, and to be honest, it seems kind of lame. I don't know why they didn't put a threaded insert or something, or weld essentially a nut on there and then use a bolt that would insert from this way. I'm really not sure what the rationale is for having a flathead coming toward us this way that you can't access. He said that, well, these shocks will outlast the car. Well, yeah, okay. What if the owner wants to, say, upgrade to a set of adjustable conies? This guy, I mentioned he wants this car to be kind of like my 55, to be kind of a canyon carver. He says he doesn't necessarily want to like autocross it or anything, but he wants it to handle well and be bitchin' and fun. So what if this dude wants to put a set of conies on this thing? He's got to start drilling holes in his body or remove the beam, which is a huge ordeal. I don't know. So that is one definite criticism that I think is very fair about this beam. The other is, and thankfully somebody pointed this out, and thank you to whoever this is. I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was. They said the shocks will rub on the body. And so before I even put this in, when I put the shocks on, you can see here, maybe better from this side. Well, you can kind of see there. Yeah, I guess you can see there. I added a couple thick washers between the shock, the eye of the shock and the shock tower. So originally there's just one washer there. I added two more pretty thick washers, and the shock, I think it clears the body now, albeit barely. So I'm not sure why these beams, these pro-built beams, ship with the shocks installed, but the shocks would definitely hit the body if you don't go and install extra washers as spacers in there. So again, I think another fair criticism, if you just install this as it came out of the box, these shocks would definitely be rubbing on the body. And it's not just this particular car, because like I mentioned, one of our viewers mentioned that they will rub on the body, and he was right. So I can't imagine we're the only two people in the universe this would happen to. So also kind of disappointing. So let's talk about the arms for a minute. If you saw yesterday's episode, you know that two of the arms had pretty excessive wear on them. So one had was undersized by 6 thou, the other by 12. Yeah, I've got this marked here. And so you can see, there you go, if you can get this to focus, you can see the wear pattern on that. And so I questioned Pete about that. And honestly, I feel like he kind of did a lot of hand waving, trying to explain why it's okay. I didn't necessarily buy what he was saying. One thing he mentioned is that they use a Delrin bushing, Delrin sleeve, and then they sort of, I think they actually ream it to size to match the arms, which, okay, that's fine. That sounds kind of good. But I don't know, the fact that it's Delrin really makes any difference if you have something like this articulating on it. Delrin is a bitchin' material. I have a lot of experience with Delrin. Again, I am an engineer. I designed many products and made many devices over the year that use Delrin. It's a pretty amazing material. Is it indestructible and never wears ever? No. But he said that their sleeve runs the whole way, like it's supporting this thing along its whole length. Well, that doesn't really make any sense, because if you look at, I mean, I have no doubt that it's, in fact, I stuck something in there and kind of probed it and saw that it is, in fact, a continuous sleeve that goes the whole way. However, if you look at the way that this thing's manufactured, it really only has a bearing surface here and here. So the fact that the sleeve is also going across the middle here really does nothing to support the arm, because essentially it's not even touching this kind of rougher machined area. It's really only supporting the bearing surfaces, which are slightly bigger than this middle area here. So again, it's really only supporting here and here. So whether you have a continuous bushing or two separate ones, which is more like the factory had, it doesn't really help anything that it's filling in this area here, because it's doing literally nothing. The other thing is I measured the depth of the bushings, and it seems like they're going the same depth as the factory ones. His bushings stop about here, and so it's not like it's supporting it out on this end here or anything either. It's really stopping about the same place as the factory ones would have, as you can see based on this wear pattern here. So yeah, I don't know. The fact that it's Delrin, the fact that it's the full length, I don't really buy any of that as far as making this acceptable. However, I think what I'm going to do is, I think we're going to go ahead and install these. And what I'm going to do is, so again, two arms are wore, a lower on one side and upper on the other. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, I think, swap how they were installed and install them so that the wore out surface on each of those is not the loaded side of the bushing. So in other words, when this thing is in the car, say like this, okay, and you've got the force of the wheel, the ground, whatever you want to call it, pushing up like that, this bearing surface is loaded on its top because it's supporting this, which is trying to go like this as you push up on it. And then this one is actually loading the underside of the bushing. So what I'm going to do is, like this one, for example, where this is wore on the bottom, the way I'm holding it, I'll put this one on the other side. So now, again, ground pushing up this way, this side is loaded here, and then on this one, the underside here will be loaded. So as far as when this thing's articulating, the side that's putting pressure on the Delrin bushing in there will be the smooth side here. So I think that's pretty much what I got to do, and it'll be fine. And you know, Pete also kind of pointed out, well, you know, nobody's going to drive these cars 120, 150,000 miles. There is truth to that. However, that I still don't necessarily think that excuses sending parts like this. But anyway, that was super long-winded, guys. Sorry, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to arrange these in such a way that the side that's loaded is not the wore-out side, and grease them up real good, and they're going to work fine. Again, just something that I've noted here, along with the issues with the shock mounting and some other things. I personally would not recommend this beam to anyone based on what I've seen. I'm not super impressed. So if anyone at Air Cooled sees this, sorry, but that's my honest opinion. Anyway, but yeah, I'm probably going to finish putting this on the car tomorrow. And then tomorrow I'm supposed to get the adjustable rear spring plates, so maybe I'll go ahead and do that too, and just have all the suspension on here done, and then we'll look at wheels and tires for him fitment. So anyway, that is actually it for today, guys. So sorry that was a little bit long-winded and hopefully not too much of a rant. I don't like ranting, but trying to explain my rationale and what I've seen here and what Pete sort of explained to me, kind of to be fair. So that's it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye.